Hey everyone, welcome in. This is Diabetes the Second here with the Dragon Warrior Randomizer Seed of the Week for January 24th, 2021. Rules for the race are the same as usual and are shown on screen. For more information about the Seed of the Week, the randomizer, and the DWR Discord community, check the description below. If you want to check out some live racing action, I stream DWR regularly at twitch.tv/diabetesthe2nd, usually somewhere between 8 p.m. and midnight Eastern, including viewer-requested seeds and community races. Most reliable time to hop on is on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. because that's when we have a scheduled weekly live race. And hopefully we'll see some of you there. So as always, I'll be doing some post-mortem commentary of my run this week. The results of this week's race will be shown at the conclusion of the seed. This week's flag set is about as non-standard as it gets for DWR. Even looking at the flag chain is a little bit confusing. So we will be dealing with a randomized overworld map, town and cape locations, shop prices, also Big Swamp, permanent repel is in effect, open Charlock, and 75% XP. So notable things that will not be randomized, including the hero's stats, spells, monster stats and abilities, monster zones, treasure locations, and shop offerings. I wasn't sure exactly what to think of this, but it very quickly became clear that this was going to be a very vanilla-like experience. So strap in, it's gonna be a long one. Alright, as is traditional, starting off with Gold and Torch. And unsurprisingly, we are in the swamp. We can reach dry land, and we note a town there immediately east of the castle. Looks like we can only reach dry land at 1 HP though, unfortunately. Walking across 2 tiles, at least for me, is also fairly challenging. Just because of the movement being a little bit stilted in Dragon Warrior. Oh, that's unfortunate. We are 1 step from being able to reach that town. Taking a reset here, and looks like we are going to change stat builds. Going with E, that is going to be an Agility MP stat build. And we'll probably take a second to talk about that here real quick. Oh, resetting again, didn't like what I saw. Now going for HP MP, so another set of stats. Okay. So what is all that nonsense? This obviously, or at least this definitely was not obvious to me as a kid. But it turns out that the name you choose for your hero, specifically the first 4 characters, at least in the US version, affects your character stats. There are 4 builds based on which stats are favored for long-term growth. That's Strength HP, Strength Agility, HP MP, or MP and Agility. And then the favored stats are better for long-term growth. The others have a slightly higher starting point, but have roughly a 10% growth penalty over time. Ugh, we can't even fight red slimes. That's so sad. So the idea behind switching from a strength HP build to a build that does not favor HP for long-term growth, you'd hope that the bonus that you get at the outset would outweigh, or basically in this case get us to enough HP to get to the town, but unfortunately it's still just 1 short. We need 17 HP, and that build only gets us to 16. The reason why I went with HP MP for this one is because with permanent repel in effect, your ability to repel enemies is dependent on the hero's defense power. Once the hero's defense power exceeds the enemy's strength, they can be repelled. Since I have no choice in the matter, I don't want to be in a position where I'm repelling the only enemies that I'm strong enough to fight. So I don't necessarily want good long-term agility. So I'll deal with the slight boost right now. I can still face slimes, which are probably the only things that I can actually defeat. Maybe a red slime if we encounter one early enough in the swamp. As demonstrated. Excellent. So definitely an awkward, slow, swampy start here. As soon as we pick up level 2, though, we should be able to get to town. Unfortunately, all of our gold is going to be gone by then, for the most part here. Level 2 is at 5 experience points. And there it is. Oh, vanilla stat gains. 1 strength, 7 HP. So just 22 gold left, unfortunately. We can reach town, so we can at least see what we have here. And it's Cantlin. Okay. Lots of options. Ugh. Everything is very expensive. So notice that we are seeing what's normally available in the shop, but at randomized prices, so not really a good weapon for us there at the top. Let's see if we can find one down here to the south. I believe a hand axe and broadsword are available here. Ah, 5 gold piece hand axe, absolutely outstanding. Otherwise, we're just kind of taking note of what's here defensively. Again, we already talked about the permanent repel function and how that's going to work for us. Or in this case, probably against us in terms of picking up defensive equipment. We're really going to need to monitor our defensive pickups throughout this seed. Well, a very fun opening here. Just grinding on some of the very early enemies in the game, getting up to 17 XP and level 3. Big pickup at level 3, of course, is the heal spell. This will allow us to escape the swamp up to the north. We can try to explore a little bit and see what's here. We only have 5 MP, so that's only 1 cast of heal. But we can venture out to see if we can find anything else. Now, because treasures are in vanilla locations in this seed, really the only thing we would want to pick up at this point is Erdrick's Sword, and that's gonna be in Charlock. So there's not really something great for us to find. We saw the broadsword is too expensive for us at this point, so the only thing potentially that we could find that would be helpful right now would be a town with flame sword, or potentially the town of Remolder to pick up keys. Keys will give us access to gold in the tangible treasury, and then we can start to afford some bigger equipment. Again, struggling a little bit to bounce back and forth across these two tiles. Okay, and then the next major milestone here at level 4... no strength, but we now have the hurt spell. So, much better offensive capability. We see a Metal Scorpion here, so we've changed zones by going a little bit here to the west, but unfortunately, Metal Scorpion's going to take us out in this one, but we don't have much survivability. On the other hand, we do have hurt. So a cast or two of hurt will take out a good number of the kind of early mid-game enemies. Things like Metal Scorpions, things like Dracula, things like Skeletons, Warlocks, etc. Because we're dealing with vanilla enemy zones, at least the zones are going to be balanced. They might not be friendly to us. We might immediately start looking at, you know, things that we would normally find around Catelyn in the vanilla game, green dragons, star wyverns, etc. But at least we know we're not going to find a zone that has 2 or 3 good enemies and then 2 or 3 things that are just awful. Opting for the moment to stay here in what looks to be Zone 2, just north of the castle. Zone of Slime, Red Slime, Drakey, Ghost. Not a bad choice. Not sure exactly what the zone to the west is. We saw only the one enemy. There's a couple of zones that have Metal Scorpions in it. We do have enough MP to cast Hurt a number of times and heal if necessary, so I think moving over here into the adjacent zone is the correct call. We see the second enemy now in this zone, and it is the Wraith. So, I think that confirms for us that this is Zone 8. What is Zone 8 in Vanilla Dragon Warrior? This is the zone of Metal Scorpion, Wraith, Wolflord, Goldman. That's a little aggressive. We can take out the Metal Scorpions for sure. Wraiths we can, but we have to dodge the heal spell, which is problematic. And you saw just how much damage we were taking there. We only have 5 defense points. We should not be facing enemies that big this early, but we do have the offensive capability to take them down, and probably just enough HP if we get lucky with a few low rolls or squeeze a heal spell in there as well. Looks like taking the safer route, at least get to level 5. Do expect some modest stat gains at level 5. Might help us out just a touch. Good crit luck here. Unfortunately, we're getting it all here on the Zone 2 enemies. Things that we don't really need to crit. But pretty much what we're doing now, I think, is going to be really the theme of this entire seed. We're only 13 minutes in. We've ostensibly had, what, maybe 2 minutes of strategizing with the name change, and then a little bit of shopping over at Catelyn, and then like 10 minutes of grinding. that's going to be pretty much the experience in this seed as we pick up level 5. 4244. So nothing major. The 4 HP might help a little bit in terms of surviving 2 attacks from some of these bigger enemies to the west. Since our resources are just about gone, we kind of poke our head out a little bit to see what else is around. We do have another cave. Not another cave, a cave. And another metal scorpion, so perhaps the same zone, Zone 8 again, up to the north, could also be one of the other zones with metal scorpions. We would just have to see. Yeah, running away is not necessarily going to be the best strategy. I mean, our agility is just absolutely awful. We're not going to have great run luck from anything. I know the reason why I was thinking about running from the Wraith is because of the heal spell. As we get hit for a solid 20. Usually don't think about Wraiths hitting you for 20 plus damage, but here we are. Part of the reason that this is really going to be a game of just strategic grinding is just the flag set. Again, we talked about at the top of how unusual. Basically, this was a random flag set selection. It's the combination of open Charlock, so we don't need to find any of the key quest items. That's why we have the rainbow drop already highlighted on our tracker. So the rainbow bridge has already been built. We can walk into Charlock at any time. And the fact that all of our chests are going to be vanilla. As we very cautiously, but very aggressively take down the Wolf Lord there. Very nice kill. Worth a lot of XP, you saw that. Over 50 XP as compared to the 1 to 4 that we're getting in Zone 2. The trade-off is that risk right there. They can hit hard. But because of the vanilla chests, we don't have any hope of finding anything critical, most notably Erdrick's Sword, by exploration. The only thing that we're going to be able to find are basically weapon upgrades. And since we're being cautious with our defensive pickups, again, even more so there, it's really just the weapon that we care about. And even if we were to find a flame sword right now, against the enemies that we have in front of us, the hurt spell is probably still going to be the stronger option. So there's just no incentive to explore, except maybe to find a zone that would be a little bit more amenable to grinding in. 4034 here at level 6. Again, vanilla stat gains, not all that exciting. The extra HP is definitely going to come in handy though. Unquestionably, it's going to help with our survivability in these battles, making sure that we can take 2 hits comfortably most of the time, and be able to get 3 hurt spells in if necessary. A bit unlucky there with the low rolls on the hurt spell. Unfortunately, this is just what this seed is going to be for a decent portion of it. It does give us a good opportunity to talk about a few things. We've already talked a little bit about stat builds and such. We should probably round out that discussion talking about why you might select certain stat builds. Especially once you realize that if you're into the, speedrunning and racing community when it comes to both the vanilla Dragon Warrior experience and the randomizer, penetrance of strength HP build is probably over 98%. For the vanilla speedrun, it's essentially required, and it's the vast majority of racers that do DWR choose strength HP. The question is, why? You have options, why wouldn't you want some customizability? Why shouldn't you choose one of the others? And it really comes down to just, usually, Dragon Lord math. It's not about the early game, it's about the end game. It's hard to talk about abstract math without looking at it, so I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole on that. But what it really comes down to is, in the end game, strength and HP tend to be the most critical stats. You might think MP would also play a role because it's an exercise in attacking and casting heal more. But really, the differences that you gain with strength gains, in terms of how many fewer attacks a Dragon Lord fight will take, versus the gains that you get in heal mores, they're just not super comparable to one another. Gaining 2 strength might take 1 or 2 attacks off of a fight, depending on exactly what the numbers are. Gaining 2 MP usually does nothing. So when we talk about those stat penalties or bonuses of about 10% in long-term growth, the strength side of it is going to be much, much more important. When it comes to HP, we like to have at least 97 max HP to overcome a double Dragon Lord max roll breath of 48 times 2, which is 96. Not essential, but it's the safest. But the end game is why everybody uses strength HP. 2622, level 7, also brings us the sleep spell. That does open up a little bit of possibility here. Wolf Lords are somewhat responsive to the sleep spell, clearly not guaranteed as we miss our first cast. Wraiths are a little bit more resistant, Metal Scorpions are very susceptible. Goldmen we're probably still just going to try to avoid altogether. Again, technically speaking, we could try to grind up for something like the broadsword, but there's just no way that's going to happen. We can see, based on our survivability, we're going to be dying a lot and losing half our cash. Quite often. So with those stat builds, it very often, as I said, comes down to the end game, and if you're running an MP agility build and you are sitting at 91 HP, and all other things considered, you look like you're ready to go, you might not make that dive to go fight the Dragon Lord because you're just not going to win that fight at 91 HP. You're going to have to double heal more and more often than you might be comfortable with, or have to take risky swings where you could die at any point. Or you might not have the strength to win. It's going to take too many attacks despite your extra heal more or 2. Which necessitates grinding an extra level, or 2, depending, and that takes time. Looks like we're venturing out a little bit, trying to get a little bit more exploration done, see if we could find a bit more friendly zone. Green dragons, not super friendly. About a coin flip to land the sleep, we don't. Now you take yet another death. Still haven't had an opportunity to see what that cave is. Again, it's almost inconsequential. Doesn't really matter what it is. Trying to navigate around a little bit. Do some exploration over here to the east. Looks like we found eastern edge of the map. A lot of swamp and a lot of nothing. Also, more enemies that are really just not conducive to what we want. Ideally, we would probably be looking for really the most favorable enemy zone, and there's a reason why it's chosen, aside from other concerns, in the vanilla speedrun, is the zone that is normally found around Remolder. The enemy zone that has metal scorpions, wolves, skeletons, warlocks, because those enemies are mostly going to be taken out by 2 hurt casts rather than 3, and they're worth still quite a bit of XP, even in compared to the enemies that we're facing here in Zone 8. Our survivability would be a bit better, and that means that we're not dying so much, and dying takes time. This is the Tablet Cave. Not helpful. Technically speaking, it could be. I believe the tablet, since it's not found in the randomizer, is replaced by a gold chest. We could go down into that cave a couple of times and pick up gold over and over to try to get a stockpile, but again, we don't have access to the flame sword. As we saw a town there to the northwest, we didn't get a chance to see what it is. Perhaps we'll head right back up here. But again, since we don't have access to the flame sword without keys, the broadsword was expensive and is only 5 extra attack power, which doesn't really change the math on a lot of these fights. Hurt is still going to be our better offensive option. We don't still want to really pick up too much defense at this point. We could probably try to pick up something light, but we also saw that our less robust defensive options were extremely expensive. So really just not going to work for us as the Wraith wakes up on the first turn after being put to sleep. Gotta love that. And it's the Den of Poxness. The typical troll town in the early game, where you just want to set up a new base of operations, have a place to heal, try to pick up some equipment, etc. Way too strong for us at this point. Looks like we found yet another zone that has wolf lords, etc. in it. And then just the South Wizards. Big ol' Hurtmore sends us home again. So Hoxness was not a helpful find. If it were Remolder, that is probably the only location that we really care about finding at this point. That's another problem with fighting the Wolf Lords here. Our attack power just isn't good enough to take them out with sword swings, and if they cast Stop Spell and it lands, and and we can't cast the hurt spell or put them to sleep anymore, then it's... Unless we've already done all the damage we need, it's not going to go well for us. Back into grind mode here, and I think this is the correct call at this point. We've seen really nothing but death and not any really good enemy zones out there in the near reaches for us. Certainly possible that there's something just across the horizon, just in a different direction that we haven't walked yet, but again, exploration, just like fighting and dying, takes time. Exploration and dying while not gaining XP takes time, and also takes time away from advancing yourself toward the next level, so it really has to be done cautiously. Understanding that it is indeed a trade-off. I think the risks of continued exploration really just do not outweigh the benefits. Next level up is at 600 XP. Level 8, like most levels in the vanilla game, is not going to get you a whole lot of additional stats. Frankly, for us, any gain in strength, any gain in HP is really what we're looking for. Gains in strength will hopefully eventually allow us to transition from the hurt spell over toward using our hand axe to actually do damage. And HP allows us to take a few extra hits. Hey, very nice. Good sleep luck and a solid crit. Allows us to take out the Wraith there. Moved over momentarily into Zone 2, I think realizing quickly that now that we have 9 defense, we're pretty much repelling everything over there. So even though we only need 6 XP for the level, we're going to have to do it against something bigger. Again, that is the difficulty of dealing with permanent repel. I don't have the choice of not being able to fight those smaller enemies. It's done for me. Nice. Again, excellent move luck. That will give us level 8. Three, 6, 3 there. Again, a little bit of HP is going to help us out with survivability just a touch. The extra 3 strength isn't going to make much difference in terms of making hurt the inferior option, but we could see at least it's in the ballpark. Hitting for 8s and 9s when hurt is going to be in the low double digits. At least we have the option. Especially if the Wolf Lord casts Stop Spell and it lands, we can still do at least some damage. The other big benefit to that is that we're saving MP by not casting hurt in favor of heal at this point. And that allows us to stay out longer without dying. Here we have the intentional death in the swamp. Refills our HP MP again. The gold really doesn't matter at this point. Although we are heading over to Cantlin. Aha. Probably not a bad idea. Picking up the dragon scale here. The extra 2 defense there. Again, ideally in a permanent repel scenario we probably don't pick up, but knowing how slowly the agility grows over the course of the vanilla stats, it's probably not until like level 10 or 11 that we even need to start thinking about something else being repelled. And again, not the enemies that we're fighting. It's not a bad idea. It takes about 8 defense to decrease the damage range about 1 to 2 points. So 2 defense doesn't really do much, but it is something technically. Having some herbs in the inventory doesn't hurt either, especially for exploration purposes. Very timely, excellent move there. We can see just how much faster our XP gain has been over the last few minutes. Now that we can occasionally sword swing, we have enough HP that we're not dying constantly, taking out maybe one enemy and then having to refill. Now we can get reliably 3, even 4 kills. Okay, wasn't expecting a crit on the gold man there, but I suppose I will take it. Probably was thinking quick death refill with resources gone, but, you know, 255 gold that I'm promptly going to lose when I die here in a minute, that's fine. Interesting choice here, using the herb in order to go home, talk to this gentleman here who will refill our magic in an attempt to save the gold post-Goldman. I don't know if it's really necessary. Again, we... You know, like, what are we gonna buy? I suppose we could try some defensive equipment. I didn't note it here in the commentary phase, but I want to say a full plate was somewhere around 700 to 800 gold. So we could afford it relatively soon. The problem is if we throw it on, we're gonna start getting pretty close to the point where we're gonna be repelling at least metal scorpions in this zone. And we really don't want to take enemies off of our plate that we know that we can kill. Alrighty, level 9 now. 8 big strength, 1, 4, 7. And the always helpful for the audience and not so much for somebody who's played this more times than they can count and can navigate everything just by listening to the bonk pattern when you walk around, not so much. It does make things a little bit faster if you're not having to bonk around through walls, but still. I suppose it is worth noting, I've mentioned a few times throughout the seed so far, about like enemy zones or monster zones, zone 2, zone 8. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what am I talking about? I guess I should be a little bit more explicit with that rather than just kind of leaving it out there for you. And it's definitely come into play in other seeds in this one. I think it's just been especially of a focal point here. But the overworld is organized into a grid of 8 by 8, 15 by 15 tile zones. So the entire map is 120 by 120. Each tile, as we see here, like as we're walking through the castle, each block is a tile. Each spot that a person can stand on is a tile. So there's these zones that are 15 by 15, just arranged in an 8 by 8 pattern overall across the world. And in each of those zones, different enemy sets appear. Up to 5 monster slots in each zone. In Randomizer, Tantegel Castle will always be placed into Zone 0, or more appropriately, Zone 0 will be placed over where Tantegel is. Tantegel could be anywhere within that 15 by 15 square. Could be on the very corner. Could be dead center, could be anywhere else. But it will be there. Immediately to the east and west will be quote-unquote Zone 1, and immediately north and south will be Zone 2. Under normal randomizer settings, that would just mean it limits the enemies to specific sets of lower tier enemies so you can get started in a seed. Here in this particular seed, because we have vanilla monster zones on, Zone 0 is the area around Tantegel and Breckenary normally, so just slimes and red slimes. Zone 1 adds the Drakey in, you see that just to the north and just to the west of Tantegel in the vanilla game, and then Zone 2 adds the ghost to that. So we mentioned 5 monster slots or enemy slots for each of those. No slot is more prominent than the other, so they're all roughly 20%, although there are some shenanigans in the code that technically make a slight imbalance. Oh, the critical dodge there. Never a fun thing to have happen. You get an excellent move, and the enemy says, nah. You tried, but nah. So technically there's a slight imbalance in the enemy distribution of like 18 to 20% depending on which slot it fits in, but it's pretty negligible. It's about 1 in 5. But the same monster could be slotted in multiple times in the same zone. So you could have a zone that, of the 5 slots, I mean, just look at the vanilla game. The zone that has just slimes and red slimes in it still has 5 slots, it's just that slimes occupy, I think, 2 of them, and red slimes occupy 3 of those slots. Same thing can happen in Randomizer. And, just like the vanilla game, you can have the same enemy slotted into multiple zones. They could be in Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 12, etc. And in Randomizer, Zones 0, 1, and 2 right around Tantegel are in fixed, guaranteed positions, essentially, Anything else beyond that is just kind of thrown out at random. So immediately north of Zone 2 you might find Zone 3, to the west you might find Zone 13, to the east you might find Zone 7. Zone 7 may be repeated 15 times over the course of the overworld. Zone 3 might never be found somewhere. So it just depends. It is also worth noting that the caves and Sherlock have their own zones associated as well. And some of those have like weird patterns just because of the way that they're put into the memory. So the Swamp Cave and the first floor of the Mountain Cave share a zone. So whatever you find in the Swamp Cave is exactly the same enemy set that you're going to find in the Mountain Cave. That is true for Vanilla Dragon Warrior, that is true for every seed of randomizer that you roll. The same phenomena is seen between the first floor of Garen's Grave and the second floor of the Mountain Cave. Those also share a zone. It can be helpful sometimes to be able to leverage that information as we hit another crit on the Wraith. Really trying to maintain that gold here. It is a little bit slower to go down and to go down and heal, but it is what it is. But leveraging that information can be important. If you've explored Garen's Grave and it's just an absolute disaster, there's red dragons, there's, you know, golems with Dragonlord breath, there's other stuff that's really nasty. When you find the Mountain Cave, you know you're going to be getting yourself into trouble by trying to clear the bottom floor, because they share a zone. So maybe you'll wait a little bit, especially if the Mountain Cave is really far away and you want to continue exploration. Yeah, there's 4 chests, but if I gotta spend 5 minutes walking back every time, you know, I take a death after getting 1 chest or none, maybe it's better that I pick up a couple levels before I come back. Alright, another level pickup there, level 10. I was talking about the monster zones at the time, but I probably should make note of and add to the tracker that we did indeed pick up full plate armor a couple of minutes ago in Cantland, so we did take advantage of that gold that we had been saving up. It is a little risky, because we're now to the point where we have enough defense that if you've noticed, I haven't seen any metal scorpions in a bit. Kind of focusing on the wolf lords and wraiths here. You know, we can put ourselves in a position where we're going to start outclassing things. The nice thing is, at least for me, I know, because I've played the vanilla game so much, I know what the stat profile looks like. This is a slightly different stat build than I'm used to playing with. So there is that to factor in, and normally I don't think about exactly, oh, when do I start defense breaking this thing? And, you know, is my defensive profile and my stats exactly what I would normally face? And the answer is no, but I know enough to know that these enemies are still on the table here, and the important thing is I'm taking less damage. I'm not taking a tremendous amount less damage, but with 24 extra defense from the full plate versus not having anything, I'm taking probably 3 to 6 damage less per swing, and that can translate to, again, just survival in battle. But it also could mean that I can take out a few more enemies along the way without having to refill. Interesting choice there. Fighting the gold man, I think I thought maybe it would be a little bit easier to take a death refill there. Not looking to save the gold at this point. We know that everything else in town that we can purchase is just too expensive. Sitting now at level 10, this might be a decent opportunity to try to explore a little bit again, look for a good enemy zone. This is still a good enemy zone, but we've now gotten ourselves down to just 2 enemies that are good for us to fight. The gold men don't really give us much that we really care about at this point. It's really just experience points that we want. So perhaps that full plate wasn't the best pickup. I still think it was at least a reasonable pickup. Probably have noticed, just based on how many fights we've taken here, wolf lords are duplicated in this zone. So this is a zone of wolf lord, wraith, metal scorpion, goldman. So really, we had 4 of the 5 that we were willing to fight before, the one being goldmen that we really didn't care about. Now it's 3 we want to fight with 1 we don't. Granted, the encounter rate will be slightly lower because it's not just pulling from those 4, it rolls which enemy first, and then, if the enemy is not repelled, it will get the encounter. But still, 75% versus 80%, it's not that much difference. If I were grinding in the vanilla game with my vanilla equipment, this would be exactly level 10 when I would move to the zone that has this enemy set anyway, so it makes sense that we're still here and grinding. And we're very close, and very quickly picking up XP at this point, and nearly level 11. Five, 4, 8, 10. No spell there at level 11. Pick up Return, level 12. Again, the stats just remain very on the light side, but that's the way the vanilla stats grow, and that's what we're dealing with in the sea. It looks like we're going to continue with 2,222 XP. Going to continue the grind here toward level 12. So looking forward to the rest of the seed and what we need to accomplish. Since we don't need any of the quest items, really the only things that we are looking for, or that we have really need of, are... I mean, what really? It depends on the orientation of the map to some degree. We probably will need to find Remolder for keys. We will need to find Hawksness to defeat the Axe Titan and pick up Erdrick's armor. And we need to find Sharlock to go pick up the sword and win the game. That's pretty much it. We don't really need anything else. We don't need the quest items. The fighter's ring in the mountain cave is nice, I guess. But 2 extra attack powers probably not going to make the difference. It's not inconsequential, but it, you know, it's not a lot. The flute is not really necessary unless, you know, the golem happens to be on a well, actually, the spike tile should not be randomized. So there is a golem going to be in Sharlock, so potentially that could be useful if we find coal. I'm stretching here. So really, it's just those couple of locations. Remolder could be technically necessary. We could have Swamp Cave in the back of Tanthgil, or in the back of Garenham, for example, and if Sharlock's on the second continent, we have to be able to go across to find it, so we would need Remolder. But other than that, it's really just Hawksness and Sharlock. It was a little amusing as we're kind of going through the grind and continuing on here as we just about run out of resources. Probably gonna take a death refill. Interesting. Looking to save the gold. I suppose it's possible. I don't recall exactly how much everything costs, but potentially a large shield could be in our future. If the flame sword's not too expensive, once we find keys, if we find keys, it's not a bad idea to have at least a little bit of cash on hand with those randomized shop prices. Alright, looks like we're opting for a bit of exploration. I think that two-step sequence right there really demonstrates the enemy zone concept. We know that Wolf Lords and Star Wyverns, because these are vanilla zones, don't share a zone. You're not going to find Wolf Lords and Star Wyverns in the same place. We walked one step away from the Star Wyvern encounter and moved into a Wolf Lord encounter, so that is just that invisible zone boundary. And we have found at least, it looks like, another iteration of Zone 8. Alright, that was the town of Hawksness that we were walking past there. We could have gone further to the west. This is north, and it's just a dead-end swamp. Okay, Drow Magi is a pretty good enemy. You're only going to find Drow Magi in, like, one zone, and that is from the grave. That's not a bad zone for us to transition to. The enemies are a little bit stronger. They're also worth a bit more. This is the zone of Drow Magi, Druid Lord, Spectre, Wraith Knight, I believe. Actually, Wolf Lords, I believe, are here as well. So that's not a bad zone. The Wraith Knight's the scary one. They can do a lot of damage. They have the heal spell. And they have a little bit more defense, where it's probably going to take us at least 4 swings to defeat one. We got lucky, that one stayed asleep. But look how much it's worth. 72 versus the 40 to 50 we were picking up from Wraiths and Wolf Lords. Nice crit. This will give us level 12. Very nice. Oh, another town. This is guaranteed to be a healing town, and it is Garenham. Vanilla shop, so we can look to see what the cost of a large shield is. It's 1100. That's purchasable. We could pick it up right now. I think I'll probably avoid that for the moment. 11 defense would push a couple of the enemies in our newfound potential grind zone out of our window of opportunity. Now, with the large shield available, we also could consider, granted, we have a hand axe, not a broadsword, it's only 5 attack power. Hawksness is right there, the Axe Knight should be there, and the vanilla speedrun, if you're going for a world record run, does kill the Axe Knight at level 12. Do I think that's the best play? Probably not. It's a low percentage fight, but it's possible. Erdrick's armor certainly would help. The extra defense is not really that significant, although we do have to worry about repelling things. But it's really more about the walking regen, the immunity to swamp, the immunity to stop spell. Those are all really important. As you find a couple of caves here to the east, so lots of locations here. This is Swamp South, it looks like. I'm sorry, we didn't learn Return, we learned Outside. Alright, Rainbow Drop turn in, not exactly what we need in this seed. As we find another town, the Wraith Knight back attacks us, takes us down to 2. Can we survive and find our way into town? Looks like another iteration of the bottom of the grave zone as we find Brecconary. Not really much to do here other than top off our resources. I guess we could refill herbs since we just had to eat a bunch of them in that Wraith Knight fight. But since we're dealing with vanilla shops, the best piece of equipment we're going to find here is a copper sword. Technically we could look for a small shield, but that's not helpful. Opting to take the fight here, interesting choice. Again, if we get the good luck and the Wraith Knight stays asleep, it's not a difficult fight. It's the fact that he can, from 35 HP, he can two-shot us. And we're only about a coin flip to actually put him to sleep in the first place, so no guarantees. Okay, so we moved out of that zone into another zone. Wyverns are a good enemy. This might actually be like the ideal enemy for us to face right now. The question is, which zone is this that has wyverns in it? And unfortunately, it's the probably less preferable of the ones that are possible. The one that we would really be looking for is the one that is in the extreme southeast corner of the vanilla map around the Rainbow Drop Cave. It's also the zone that is sort of in the transition area around the bridge north of Hawksness, south of the mountain cave in the vanilla map, if you could picture that. Along with like Wolf Lord's Wraiths and the like. But Demon Knights and Knights and Rogue Scorpions and stuff are just not really doable quite yet. We just take too much damage. If we were to pick up a large shield, potentially. But really, our max HP is really going to be the limiter there, and we just don't quite have enough attack power to get through. If this area past Breck doesn't lead to anything, so taking the opportunity to take a few steps, try to grind a little bit. Just about halfway to level 13. Bad luck dodge on the Wraith Knight there kind of puts us into a tenuous spot where we have to use up some herbs and the heal. We do have Stop Spell, we could try to use it. lose a couple of coin flips with the sleep spell, and ultimately get sent home. So not ideal, but it does give us, I suppose, another opportunity to explore a little bit in a different direction. We've gone east and saw nothing there. We went north on Tablet Cave, Hawksness, and subsequently we found Garenham, Rainbow Drop Cave, Breckenary, etc. to the east. Dead end slightly up to the north, and then we have kind of further to the west past the zone that we got killed by a wizard much earlier. I think we're seeing on display here even a gold man, which of the kind of mid, kind of the start of the mid game into the late game enemies, 39 agility is not very good, and we're having a lot of difficulty running away. Certainly wouldn't be the worst idea to continue the grind at this point, whether it's here in this zone with Druid Lords, Droll Magi, Wraith Knights, etc., or if we still stuck into the zone that we were in previously with Wolf Lords and such. Another cave here to the west, we have not seen this. Nice crit on the Wyvern, perfectly timed to open the battle. We'll take that free 64 XP. And the cave is the Mountain Cave. Is it worth diving? Yeah, I suppose it is. It depends what the enemy set in here is. If it's really difficult, it's kind of annoying, but it shouldn't be. This should be vanilla zones. So these zones should not be randomized. So this should be basically a free run through. The fighter's ring that we'll find up to the top, and we're always guaranteed to pick up the Death Necklace here. It's not the 1 in 32 chance that is in vanilla. The Death Necklace will always be there the first time. Because we're going to have to go up to at least level 17 for Heal More, and probably level 19 for safety against the Dragon Lord, we're going to have Death Necklace safe HP. So it makes sense to grab it when we have the opportunity. Fast walk out, opted not to cast outside, save the MP. Or just forgot I had it, one of the two. I prefer to think it was the strategic decision to save 6 MP for 2 extra heal casts. Really hanging by a thread with these Demon Knight encounters. Keep taking a couple of steps, new Demon Knight, back attack, couple run fails. Kind of debating there the odds on running with 39 agility from a knight versus taking, what, the 50-ish, 56% chance to put it to sleep. It's a toss-up. So much swamp. Well, casting outside saved us enough that we can still cast heal. We have a couple of herbs still to our name as well. Looking for a town. Oh good. More swamp. My favorite. Oh look. A Star Wyvern. And a back attack. And a run fail. My favorite. Hey, we got away. Oh, there's a town. Ahaha, it's Remolar with keys! So this opens up some possibilities. Again, we don't need to do exploration, but one thing that this does open, it opens up the Tantagel Treasury, and since the Tantagel Treasury has 4 gold chests, and keep in mind, this is Randomizer, those chests aren't 6 to 13 gold, they are 500 to 755 gold. We can pick up enough to upgrade to a broadsword, we can pick up a large shield, and we can also check the locked shop to see exactly what a flame sword and silver shield cost. Opting to pick up the wings there, probably because we don't actually have return yet. So we could just throw the wing up and see what happens. NPCs, really? Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding. I just want to see what like magic armor costs. Actually, I think we've already seen the magic armor cost. It's very expensive. Broadsword is not doable. I wonder if I forgot that these are not randomized shops. Perhaps I did. Using the wings to quickly come back home. I don't need to do any more exploration up there. It was a dead end. Alright, locked shop. Aw, silver shield for $5. I love it. Do I make the plunge now? I think the answer is no. It looks like I do skip it. Flame sword is also reasonably priced. Not sure why I'm going for coordinates. We have open Charlock, probably an hour and 15 minutes into a seed. Probably forgot that it's open Charlock and that we don't need the token, and therefore don't need the search tile. $49 north, 4 west. So, very easily walkable, countable, etc. It's going to be just a little bit probably to the west of Hawksness. Worth noting, though, that there shouldn't be anything there on those coordinates. So those coordinates are a lie. There is no token because open Charlock. Alright, taking the death refill, raiding the treasury. We now have enough to upgrade our offense. We'll check the back here as well. Also need to refill keys. Only thing we really care about being in the back here would be Swamp Cave. If Swamp Cave is in the basement here and Charlock is on the second continent, we would want to know about it. It's the Staff of Rain turn-in, though. Because we had to buy keys, we fall short again of the cash needed for the flame sword, so we'll re-pick up the chests here. Plenty, and then some. It's not getting a lot of XP in the last 10 or 12 minutes, but lots and lots and lots of big gains in terms of setting ourselves up for the end game here. So Flame Sword acquired. So that's 13 additional attack power versus the Hand Axe. Plus 28 versus plus 15. Opting to skip out on the Silver Shield for the moment. And again, that's to keep a lot of those enemies that we talked about in play. See that I'm counting out coordinates here, and you might be wondering, well, wait a minute. I thought you said the token is going to be there. There's nothing there. The coordinates are a lie. Why are you counting? It turns out, and we did find this out as a result of this being put out as a the weekend as a flag set that isn't normally run, that if you have the combination of flags that say that it's the vanilla locations for things, but also open Sharlock, so it makes the items disappear, the coordinates can be a lie and can lead to nothing. But also, for some reason, just because of the way things are, the order in which things are randomized in the program, these search tiles do get randomized. So this could be the armor. I'm quite sure I counted correctly, and the search tile was empty. So this was indeed the token spot. So it was not randomized. So that is why I checked that at all. If I had been the first one to run it this week, I probably wouldn't have known that, and I probably would have just skipped it, not checked coordinates, not counted them out, obviously, because I wouldn't have had them in the first place. But I did have that information going in. That A, the coordinates may be a lie, and B, there is a chance that that could have randomized to have what I needed. That has since been patched and fixed in an updated version of the randomizer. Both of those things, actually. The lying coordinates from Open Sharlock and inappropriate randomization. Okay. Another level grinded, 3776, and now the return spell. Continuing the grind in the zone, which I think is a good idea. This is probably the optimal zone for us at this point. Potentially we could move over with the increased attack power that we have from the Flame Sword and the level gain into the zone that has Demon Knights, Rogue Scorpion, Wyvern, and Wraith Knight. Like, I think that's a reasonable zone to try. I think it would be more risky, but not impossible. As long as we're always at max HP, we should be fine. But this is a very safe and fast grind. You know, when you get encounters. Moving over into this area is actually probably a decent idea. Same zone as we saw just to the west of Hawksnest, but the nice thing about this is that it is much closer to Garenham and healing when we're ready for it, just to the northeast. This is probably a good idea. I think also I had noticed there to the west that I was actually probably moving back and forth between two zones. When I was sort of a little bit further to the south and west in that area, I was just fighting Wolf Lords. I think that was the same as Zone 8 that we had been encountering really for the first 50 minutes of this seed. And not realizing that just to the northeast of that where I started, that's where this zone also kind of, the western edge of this zone is. Right now I'm on the eastern edge of it. The one that is the bottom of the grave zone. Wraith Knight, Wolf Lord, Druid Lord, Droll Magi, etc. So really, again, this is just an exercise in continuing to grind and continuing to math things out or strategize. When is the best opportunity to go to Hawksnest and try to take out the Axe Knight? When is our best opportunity to continue to look for Charlock and dive for the sword? At what level do we think that we're going to try to finish this? I mean, the preliminary thoughts on all of this is probably around level 14 would be reasonable with Flame Sword and Full Plate. If I do opt to pick up Large Shield also for the Golem fight, or the Axe Knight fight. The difficulty with equipment in the first Dragon Warrior game is your inability to equip and de-equip things. You also can't just sell equipment. You have to replace it. We've already seen that all the weak stuff is also very, very expensive, so once we buy that shield, we're stuck with it. And 10 extra defense repels half of this zone away, and we'd be stuck basically fighting Wraith Knights. So we would have to move to a new area if we want to continue to grind with the large shield. Same thing for the Silver Shield. The Silver Shield, even more pronounced effect. So at what point do we decide that there is a superior grind elsewhere that we can still benefit from while picking up the extra defense? $5,000 XP on the number. And for 5625 for the next level, filling up on herbs, going into the inn and staying there as well. Probably, well, I guess I don't need to check the back of Garenham. We've already seen one end of the Swamp Cave. I suppose I could double check to see if the other end of Swamp doesn't go here. If it did, we would know that this is a single continent Seed. Ooh, trying to fight the werewolf. Really aggressive play. Even though we put him to sleep, he woke up in one turn. And we run. Good choice. If I opt... Oh gosh, yeah, this is one of the zones that's normally around Cantlin. If I opted to try to grind in this zone, I would certainly pick up the Silver Shield first. The extra 20 defense is going to make some difference in the damage that I'm taking. Not a tremendous amount, but probably taking close to 3 to 6 or 2 to 5 damage off. Which is pretty decent. But the fact that Mage Wyverns have sleep, Star Wyverns have heal more, it's just not a great zone to try to grind. And not much to say here, just continuing the grind. Slow and methodical. It's actually quite quick and methodical. Wraith Knights are really the only obstacle with the occasional healing spell. As long as we maintain our HP at a high level, we basically can't die unless we get extraordinarily unlucky with dodges. Very quickly ramping up toward level 14. Level 14 might be a good opportunity to try taking out the Axe Knight. Alright, 8-6-8-6. Pretty good stat gains there for level 14. Let's see what the choice is at this point. Might also be not a bad idea to just you know, grind out the resources and go heal afterwards, then go pursue Hawksness, or, you know, just go for another level. Nothing wrong with either of those options. I don't think there's a specific urgency to go for Hawksness at the present moment. But it looks like that is the play I'm going to make, and this may be the time that I transition out of that grind zone as well, because we are going to pick up the Silver Shield. A good choice if I'm going to take on the Axe Knight. I always forget to highlight keys on this thing. We had keys for quite a while. Alright, making the play for the Axe Knight here. Sherlock Zone, or Hawks' Zone is still no fun. Odds on killing the Axe Knight still should be pretty good. We'll throw the stop spell out there first and go from there. Really? That's better. Even with all this defense, he still hits very hard. But we have herbs. The heal spell is also much more useful in the randomizer versus how it is in the vanilla game, so no issues here. That is decidedly not our armor, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier that despite the fact that these are supposed to be vanilla treasures, because of the order in which things are processed in the randomizer, that was a mistake. That these search tiles were randomized after the fact, and it looks like Cole and Hawksness flipped. So the armor should be in Cole. We have not yet found Cole. 2 directions still to go. I think we had some area further to the west that we had yet to explore. And there's some area here east, plus we have not gone across the swamp cave yet. Well, looks like it was right here all along. Typical, right? It's like 5 tiles off screen from where we explored a long time ago, and there is indeed the armor. Ah, man, that would have been nice to have a lot earlier. It's tough, though. When permanent repel is in effect, you don't want that big defensive gain, and because it's on a search tile or in a chest, you don't have the option to say, no, I don't want this. You automatically equip it. You are stuck with it. And aha, I like the play here. It looks like we're not going across the swamp cave, because we just saw Cole, we just saw Sherlock, we know where to go. it's time for a green dragon grind. The green dragon is not a grindable enemy in the vanilla game. It is a one-time encounter on that tile, but in the randomizer, all of the spike tiles reappear over and over. In the vanilla game, it is only the Axe Knight for which that's the case. The Golem is a one-time encounter, the Green Dragon's a one-time encounter, but the Axe Knight is there over and over again. But by picking up the Silver Shield and opting to go into the Axe Knight fight, we went from, I think at the time it was 52 defense to, or no, it was 56 defense up to 76 defense. No, it was because it was pre-Erdrick's armor. It was from 52 to 72. We took ourselves from only repelling, like, Druin Lords in that zone. Actually, I think we also took Wolf Lords out, so we were fighting lots of Droll Magi and Wraith Knights, to now repelling everything in that zone. We would have had to have moved to the Wyvern Knight, Demon Knight, Rogue Scorpion zone, and even then, we would only be fighting the Knights and the Demon Knights. Or, we'd have to move into that other, not-so-friendly zone of Mage Wyverns, Star Wyverns, Werewolves, etc. So I think this is a very, very good play. We're not guaranteed to take every green dragon out. Our HP is a little bit low for this, but with the Flame Sword, we're doing enough damage. We have enough defense that we're not taking quite so much, but if the green dragon rolls fairly high, if we roll fairly low on our attacks, we can be taken out. So if we continue on with this pursuit, then the question becomes, if and when do we dive through Sharlock for the sword? For grinding purposes, the extra 12 attack power is significant. It would make these battles go quicker, and it would make it more reliable. The difficulty is getting through Sharlock. We have 52 agility, 78 max HP, and no heal more. I don't like the odds, but we do something very similar in the vanilla speedrun, and we do it at level 13, so it is doable. Why not go for safety here? This is a relatively reasonable, relatively fast grind. We know that level 15 is coming fairly soon and has some more decent stat gains, at least by vanilla standards, so perhaps level 15 will be the one. For making a sword dive, not for winning the game. Oh, we are not winning the game soon. We have lots of grinding to do first. Well then. Okay. Looks like that same Cantlin zone is on the other side of the swamp cave. We saw one whole tile. Not much there. Not exactly sure what the plan was there. Maybe just to cast outside and then walk back through the swamp cave from top to bottom. Unfortunately, the one step we took outside the cave was a deathly encounter, but either way, it's a free refill. We're back at the castle, and it's just a short walk back up to the swamp cave, so no harm done, really. It's a little unfortunate that we're, like, just a couple of battles away from the level, that we do have to do the refill and come back before, but again, maybe we'll wait till level 16 to consider a dive down for the sword. We know that we're going to be grinding to at least level 18. Level 18 is the target level in the vanilla speedrun. Nice crit there. At level 18, the HP is high enough and the strength is high enough with enough heal mores to get yourself through. The odds, again, aren't the best because you do have to get through Sharlock. Nice crit again. You have to get through Sharlock intact with all your resources in order to have a successful Dragon Warrior fight, and even then it's only about a 1 in 3 or so. We also have to contend with the fact that the Dragon Lord has more HP in Randomizer versus Vanilla, 130 versus 150 to 165, as we hit level 15 here, 7, 8, 8, 2. We also learn Repel. So there is kind of that trade back and forth on whether or not the randomized Dragon Lord is still achievable at level 18. The safer option would be to go to level 19. Therefore, we would have more HP, we would be Death Necklace safe and able to use that if we choose, versus having opportunities for double attacks. We'd also have a little bit more MP for some extra heal mores. Nice crit again. We've had good crit luck against the Green Dragon here. 3 crits in like the last 6 encounters. The safest approach to diving through Sharlock, either A, would be to just not bother with it, stick with the Flame Sword, this is probably good enough. Hard to say. With the truncated levels and the fact that we're not going as early as level 13. Nice crit again. Wow. Very good luck with the crits. It probably makes it less significant to pick up the sword, although it's not terrible. It also means we don't have to make a detour during our definitive dive. But if we're going to go ahead of time, ideally, for the safest probability, you would go at level 17, because you would have heal more. And any battle that you can't run from, you'd be able to cast heal more and give yourself a few more opportunities. With just the heal spell, you're not going to be out healing damage that you're going to be taking, so you're limited to the number of attempts that you have to run. Wow, I really don't know what to say about these crits. This is like a ridiculous... There's nothing special about a spike tile, there's nothing special about a flame sword, or our level or anything else. We're just getting very, very good luck. It's basically a 1 in 32 chance to get a crit, any swing. And the fact that we've gotten so many in such a short time frame is pretty remarkable. I will take it. We did pick up the flute a little bit earlier. We'll go ahead and highlight that as well on the tracker. Again, that does play a positive role. As we take a death refill here, it's probably the fastest way to refill our resources versus casting outside and walking through, or walking outright and going to town and walking back. But the Fairy Flute does play a positive role here. The spike tile or trap tile outside of Cantlin is moved into Sharlock at the doorway to the Dragon Lord's throne room, so we will be fighting a golem. And the fact that we have the flute probably will save us at least a heal more. So it just makes whatever level we choose to go at that much safer. Looks like we are going to make the play here at level 15 and some change to pick up the sword. We still have at least 3 levels to grind up for, probably 4. So I think this is a very reasonable play to make. Once we pick up the sword as well, we can try to take out a couple of enemies along the way versus just casting outside. I think the faster or better opportunity would just be to cast outside and get back to the green dragons as quickly as possible. But we'll see how it plays out. Decent enough luck so far. The big obstacle enemy here in the top zone is really just the Axe Knight. The others are still dangerous because we're still taking a lot of damage, but the Axe Knight with sleep, if you get bad luck and you stay asleep for 4 or 5 plus turns, then you're just kinda SOL, as it were. Through the diamond floor here, counter a couple of blue dragons. Again, a little scary. They do a lot of damage. If they breathe on us, that's a little bit better. With Erdrick's armor, that's a weaker attack. Switchback floor, and now the branched path, either toward the Dragon Lord versus toward the sword. We're going to be going for the sword here. Maximum safety, putting the stone man to sleep. Our primary objective is to get the sword, so whatever we can do to most safely do that. We could go right down to 1 HP, 0 MP. We have to pick up the sword. And there it is. And I think escaping immediately and heading back to the Swamp Cave is the right move. Technically, some of the enemies that are in there are worth a bit more, but green dragons at 135 are very, very good. The crit train continues. Erdrick's sword just as strong as the flame sword, apparently. At least in the crit department. Who knew? Apparently Princess Gwaelin is just the ultimate wielder of the legendary hero's weapon. Alright, this green dragon will give us level 16. Again, 16 not really all that impressive except for the big MP gain. MP now outpacing the HP in the stat department. Level 17 at 12,000 XP, level 18 then at 14,250. And most likely level 19, 16,500 XP. Fortunately, like I said, this is a very safe grind, it's a very fast grind, it's consistent. The fact that we're still casting a heal spell between battles is a little bit annoying, but that problem is going to be resolved at level 17. And the grind continuing to speak for itself. Green Dragon grind, really very underrated. Unfortunately, this is, as we talked about a bit earlier, not available in the vanilla game. I think that this would probably be an option right around here at level 16 or level 17, if that were the case. Potentially earlier. You do have a bit of a walk down to Romulder or up to Cole to heal, versus taking a Death Warp and walking the entire way. You probably wouldn't do that because of the long walk out of the castle without the extra staircase, as we hit another crit. But at least it would be possible. You know, versus other potential grinding options that we have at this point, I think this is by far the best option. The Axe Knight being the other grind tile that's just over to the west from us. The fact that Axe Knights have sleep is problematic, and I think that's the primary reason not to choose them, even though they have slightly less max HP at 67, I believe, versus 74 for the Green Dragon. Sorry, 72 for the Green Dragon. That fact, the fact that it has sleep is just... And they're worth essentially the same. Green Dragon's worth 135, the Axe Knight worth 130 XP, essentially equivalent. Versus an overworld grind, now that we've, since we have the Silver Shield and gotten up to level 16, we'd be basically locked into that one zone in the overworld that has Star Wyverns, Wizards, Magiwyverns, Werewolves, Green Dragons, etc., but we'd be repelling some of those enemies, versus grinding in Sharlock, which we could do. We'd be repelling Wizards at this point, we'd have everything else at our disposal, but again, I just think this is so fast, it's so consistent, and the encounters really at this point just aren't dangerous. As long as we go in at full resources, we could even miss or get dodged once or twice even in a battle and still be fine. Alright, level 17 and a whopping 0 strength, gotta love it. Level 17, very uneventful, except we just learned the Heal More spell. So no more casting heal 5 times after each battle. He says, casting heal several times. Sometimes it's about efficiency of using your MP as well. We probably don't need max HP to get through a battle, and we would be wasting 5 MP if we were to cast Heal More in that situation, because we don't need that much healing. Now would be a good opportunity to heal more. Perfect. About halfway or a little bit more now to level 18. Continuing the Green Dragon grind. Not the most exciting seed overall. I've tried to keep the commentary interesting where appropriate and kind of let the grind speak for itself throughout. It's very difficult with these longer seeds, especially since I do these segmented in the sense that I'm playing the seed and then recording commentary and doing tracking and things after the fact, so it basically doubles the amount of time that this takes to complete in terms of a project that gets uploaded. But it does also give me the opportunity to kind of think about what I have done and, you know, things to bring up, like we talked about monster zones earlier, we talked about stat builds, things like that. At some point in the future, I may want to try to do some little brief, sort of instructional or informational videos about certain aspects of the randomizer, at least as the randomizer exists currently. There's always changes happening. I know that there are some potential changes down the distant future road whenever a Dragon Warrior Randomizer 3.0 were to come out. That may include some very advanced features that we've only been dreaming about for the past several years. But I may want to do something like that. I think it would be a good opportunity to explain some of the things. I try to do that while I play, but sometimes there's just some of the nuance gets lost or is a little bit difficult to focus on during an actual gameplay session. As we hit level 18 here, just crossing the 14,250 barrier, and we'll see exactly why this is possible, but we worry about being successful at level 18. If you take a look at our attack power, only 121. Because we do not have a strength HP build, strength is not one of our favored stats. If we had a strength HP build, we would probably have around 130 plus attack power. We would have a little bit less MP and a fewer heal more or two, but still. At 121 HP, our quick Dragon Lord math, subtract 100, which is the Dragon Lord's defense, divide in half to get the top roll. That would be 10. Divide in half again for the bottom roll, that's 5. We're only doing 7.5 damage per swing. It's not great when we need to do 150 plus damage. That's over 20 plus swings, and at 108 MP we have just 13 heal mores. We'd like to have that number about 2 as a differential. We'd like to have about 2 fewer heal mores than we need swings at worst. And with a gap of 8, that's just not gonna happen. So we will be grinding another level. If we were strength HP, we would stand a better chance, but there still would be a gap where it would be about 14 and 10, like 17 and 13. Actually, it'd be 12, I think. So there still would be a gap, but it would be less, and at least we would have a chance. A risky chance, but a chance. Here we just don't. The level 19 is effectively required. We would have to get extraordinarily lucky in terms of high rolls, in combination with Dragon Lord low physical attack rolls. Lots of double attacks. This flag set, I don't think we mentioned it, and it sort of could have come up a little bit early in the run, like around level 2 and 3 before we picked up the Hurt spell. But throwing torches and fairy water in battle, much as it is in the vanilla game, though that flag is off for this seed, so we do not have the opportunity to pick up fairy waters to throw for extra damage versus DL2. That would close the gap, but since we don't have that available to us, that is not something we can consider for this seed. Okay, next Green Dragon encounter will give us the 16... sorry, not the next one, a couple more. But we're very quickly getting up here to level 19. Again, we're just looking for that smaller gap between swings required and heal mores in our pocket. We should achieve that, again, because we know what the stat gains are going to be from the vanilla game. We know that we're going to pick up a bunch of HP and some MP here. And just the fact that we're getting HP and will be Death Necklace safe, that is what is going to allow us to win at level 19. It's still contingent on us getting down to the Dragon Lord intact, but I think we have pretty decent odds of doing so. 2, 2, 15, 7 here at level 19. Making the walk back out. So again, looking at the Dragon Lord math, it almost looks like it hasn't changed, right? 123 attack power. It's not 5 to 10 anymore, it's 5 to 11. That's not much better. But if we were to throw the Death Necklace on, we trade away a quarter of our max HP in favor of 10 extra attack power at 133. We're now looking at 8 to 16 damage per swing. That's 12 on average. We would need roughly 13 to 14 attacks to win. And at 115 MP, that is 14 heal mores. That's a gap of 0 to 1, and that is rather comfortable for us. Alright, back into the fray we go. Another thing to note, we probably noticed it during the end of the Green Dragon grind. The Green Dragons are now damage broken. Our defense is high enough to exceed their strength, therefore they're not doing as much damage. That also means that enemies that are defense broken or damage broken are automatically repelled, like was the case all throughout the seed. So the only enemy we're going to see here in the top zone at 90 defense is the Axe Knight. So Green Dragon, Star Wyvern, Wizard, Werewolf, all off the menu. Alright, again to the switchback floor. So far through Zone 2 has not been too bad. A couple of blue dragons, a couple of stone men, no big deal. This time when we get to the fork in the road, we're going to be going to the left and heading down toward the Dragon Lord's lair. The U-shaped floor and into Zone 3. This is where we have our Armored Knights and Red Dragons, so this is the most dangerous zone by far. 80 agility is not the best. We have between 40 and 50% chance to run from Red Dragons and Armored Knights, which isn't bad. We can very easily tank 1 to 2 hits and be okay. It's if we start getting the bad luck and not getting away in 1 or 2 attempts that we could get ourselves into trouble. We can probably burn 1 heal more safely, perhaps even 2, but we would ideally get to DL2 completely intact. Decent run luck so far from the Armored Knights and Red Dragons. Stone Men are not really a concern, and here is our spike tile enemy, the Golem. Fortunately, we did find the Fairy Flute earlier, unexpectedly in Hawksness, but we did find it. Alright, top off with the herb there. We have 3 extra MP. We can cast heal to top off the HP all the way to 130. And now into the Dragon Lord fight. Thou art a fool! Go ahead and throw the Death Necklace on first. Death Necklace does not take effect until the second portion of the fight. That applies for both the strength gain and the max HP reduction. So ideally we'll go in here with max HP. New max is going to be 97. 96 is close enough. Took almost all of our herbs, but we did coax it out of the Dragon Lord and into DL2. Good luck, have fun. DL2 is randomized for max HP, so 150 to 165. We did 9 and 14, that's 23. $38. $46. $57. $73. $81. $93. $102. Numbers still very much in our favor. $117. $127. $138, effectively guaranteed now at this point, barring needing to double heal more. $152. Likely to win in the next swing, not guaranteed. $161 is enough. GG. It was a long one, and we did a lot of grinding, and not a whole lot else. But we got the job done. The princess returns. Prince is still in the swamp cave. No big deal, don't worry about it. Finishing things off with a final time of 2 hours, 23 minutes, 2 seconds. Well, that certainly was something. Anytime you have a flag set that keeps a lot of vanilla elements, in particular the stat profile, it really makes you realize just how awful the growth progression is in the original game. It makes sense from the perspective of desiring like a level 19 to 21 or 22 finish in the vanilla game versus the 15 to 17 we tend to target in Randomizer, but still. You know, as we said at the top, despite the randomized map and the big swamp and everything else, this is a very vanilla experience. Grind in the early game, grind in the mid game, grind in the end game, occasionally you explore a bit. Not sure there's a whole lot I would do differently. I think if we could have found a more intermediate zone between the Zone 2 group of Slime Red, Slime Drakey, Ghost, and then the Zone 8 group of Metal Scorpion, Wraith, Wolf Lord Golden that we fought just to the west, we would have had a much easier time in transitioning to stronger monsters. We spent a lot of time on those fights casting hurt. We still took a lot of deaths, even sometimes without getting a single kill. That really slowed us down. But other than that, I think everything else we did just about as safely as we could. We actually probably could have taken more risks. Fighting the Axe Knight a bit sooner. Not that it would have paid off, because the search tiles are inappropriately swapped, and would have just gotten the flute out of it. Or we could have explored out and found what turned out to be the armor in coal a little bit sooner. That would have helped a lot with the swampy overworld and the walking regen. Again, at the cost of us having extra defense we didn't necessarily want at the moment. We could also have hit Sharlock for the sword a bit sooner, but again, I think we took the safest route. Still got things done pretty quickly and efficiently, and that green dragon grind at the end, though, a thing of beauty. It is worth pointing out we did also identify a few bugs. We didn't identify them, but as part of this week's runs for everybody, we did see that the search tiles being inappropriately swapped, the coordinates that led to nothing. And then one thing we didn't mention, but the price curve kind of extended what should be its upper limits. There was some confusion there. There were a couple other things, like we should get an HP boost for Big Swamp, but because the vanilla stats were in effect, that overrode it. A lot of that stuff has already been resolved in a bug fix release that was put out shortly after this, so kudos to McGrew for his continued involvement and development with this fantastic randomizer. New feature here, let's also take a moment to note the map for the seed, always a good thing to take a look at. So, we had Tansigil kind of down there south to slightly southeast. We had Catlin tantalizingly close to home, but ultimately one step too far from home to reach at level 1. Very frustrating since there was a cheap weapon and we did have gold. Ugh. Next time. Romulder and Key Access was at the absolute opposite end of the map, way in the far north, and then we had that big cluster of locations in the east central area, and then Cole and Sharlock just south of that, which we found a bit later. Stone's Cave, it turned out, was far off to the west on its own, and Swamp Cave, which we literally saw one screen of and took one step on before dying the one time we went there, turned out to just be an empty continent down toward the southwest corner of the map. And of course, all that delicious, delicious swamp. Big swamp indeed, we had to cross a lot of it. Anything still completely black there was inaccessible and unable to be seen from the walkable terrain, but that was indeed the map for this week's seed. So that leads us into the results, and I'm feeling pretty good about this one, given the consistency of our run, and given the fact that I think we just played very well and made good decisions. So let's take a look to see that we did indeed finish first, and by a pretty decent margin. Only 4 finishers this week, though. I'm very satisfied, obviously. With the swampy start, the threat of permanent repel warding off the only things we could fight, we really had to put our thinking caps on during those long grinding stretches to strategize the way forward. I think the fact that I do have good knowledge of the vanilla speedrun gave me a slight advantage versus the field, for sure. And I think we talked about that a lot during the run itself, so I don't want to, rehash over that too much. Regardless, GG to everyone on the board here. It was rapidly apparent this is going to be a long one with a lot of grinding, so sticking it out does warrant a badge of honor in this case. I think we all know the real winners were the ones who noped out earlier, just didn't bother this week. There's always next week for a more friendly flag set. So that's going to do it for this week's DWR Seed of the Week. If you enjoyed the content, please feel free to like the video, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel for more. Come visit over at twitch.tv/diabetesthe2nd. We do lots of DWR over there, other similar gameplay, occasionally a vanilla speedrun. Check out the description for more information on the Seed of the Week, the randomizer, and the DWR Discord community. So, really, we'd love to have you involved, whether it's watching or playing yourself. Get involved, it's a good time. Anyway, until next time, this is Diabetes the Second. Stay healthy, stay safe, and take care.